Now that Adventure Time is over, all I want is more Adventure Time! I know the show had to end, but I'm selfish and I want to go on more adventures with Finn and Jake. If you're anything like me, you're probably looking for something to quell your Adventure Time hangover, and I've got just the thing. There are actually tons of episodes of Adventure Time that never made it into the actual series, so today we're gonna break them down and decide if these lost episodes would have been worth making. Spoiler, of course they are. I'm Whitney Van Lanningham, and here are some episodes of Adventure Time you've never seen before. Number 5, The Gloriers. In this unmade episode, Finn is a little jealous of Jake's super awesome stretchy powers. Jake tries to teach him how to stretch, but obviously Finn can't do it because he's just a human, and Jake is an actual shapeshifter. On their next adventure, Finn asks Jake to go into battle without his powers this time to make things even. They spot a band of man-horses fleeing from a gemstone demon in hot pursuit, so of course our heroes decide to help save these disturbingly majestic beasts. They catch up to the gemstone demon just in time, and Finn does his best to get the man-horses out of there. Unfortunately, the gem demon catches up to all of them and all hope seems lost. Dang, this is serious. Finn decides he's gonna try to jump down the demon's throat and rip him open from the inside, but Jake tells him that's a stupid, terrible idea and holds him back. But just then, the man-horses see the Gloriers riding in on their horsemen. The day is saved! The Gloriers proceed to take down the gemstone demon with astounding accuracy, and Finn is crazy impressed. He asks Jake why he held him back in the fight, and Jake tells Finn that he wanted to keep Finn safe. Finn gets super angry and tells Jake he's gonna join the Gloriers so that he can go on adventures with people who actually understand him. Jake is heartbroken, and Finn walks off with Lizard Guy. The next scene shows us Finn kicking ass with the Gloriers just like he wanted. He manages to help them take down a monster with a mouth on its head and an eyeball for a tail, and at first, he's really pumped about it. But then Finn realizes that glory just for the sake of glory isn't all that great and starts having second thoughts. Meanwhile, Jake is real sad because he has no one to do stuff with, so he makes himself a Finn doll to eat lunch with. Naturally, the fake Finn doesn't really do it for him, and he's pretty bummed out about losing his best bud. Back with the Gloriers, Finn asks the Rhino guy if glory is the only thing they ever fight for, and is met with a resounding, "What else is there?" Finn thinks about it, and when the Gloriers ask him to join them, he says, sure, without hesitation. After stumbling upon a lone man-horse in need of a pal, Jake shapeshifts to become a man-horse himself, and starts pulling the covered wagon. But oh no! Gem Demon is back at it again, and this time he's after Jake and Horseman! Finn asks the Gloriers if they should go help Jake and the Horseman, but Snake Guy replies that they already fought the Gem Demon yesterday. Finn is finally fed up with all their glory nonsense and springs into action to rescue his friend. The Gloriers decide to keep fighting Terror Bulls, but we'll come back to that later. The Gem Demon and his beast thing are gaining on Jake and Horseman, and it looks like they're total goners. But at the very last second, Finn swoops in all slow motion style and takes him down with his arrows. Jake returns the favor and saves Finn's life by protecting him in a ball while the monster explodes all around them. As the Gem Demon crawls away, he awakens the Golden Idol, which Finn and Jake must defeat or else it will destroy all of them. Thankfully, Jake stabs it to death with a marshmallow roasting stick and the idol disappears. Finn learns that you should always stick by your best bud, even if they're being annoying and trying to give you good advice. Real homies are loyal, yo! Number 4, Pink and Proud. Ah, man, this would have been such an epic bubbling episode! The plot of this unmade episode follows Princess Bubblegum as she makes an attempt to be more punk rock. Who else should she go to for punk lessons than bad bitch Marceline the Vampire Queen herself? Marcy tells Peebles, who, fun fact, was called Betty in earlier episodes, that she's happy to teach her how to be a real tough mama, and their punk rock 101 lessons begin. Together, Marceline and Bubblegum kick cans with their cowboy boots, dye the Ice King's beard pink while he's sleeping, and give guff to strangers. That's when PB realizes that maybe she should just be her girly self after all, because giving guff to strangers looks really heartbreaking. I love the idea of this episode because so many little girls are raised to believe that they have to be one of the guys to get boys to like them. I love that PB realizes that at the end of the day, the most important thing is that she likes herself. Number 3, The Helmet of Thoragon. According to Adventure Time showrunner Adam Muto, this episode didn't even make it past the outline stage, but the plotline sounds so funny and I love the storyboarded images. In search of adventure, Jake and Finn wander through Ooh until they stumble upon a field of trippy-looking flowers. When Finn asks Jake what they are, a loud booming voice answers, "Those are Quibble flowers!" And when they turn around, a big friendly giant is picking up fingerfuls of flowers and sniffing them. The giant goes on to explain that the quibble flowers only bloom once every 100 years, and that they have the most magical aroma in the known universe. But when Finn and Jake try to smell the flowers themselves, nothing happens. The giant tells the dudes that only big, huge, giant-sized noses can smell them, so Jake shapeshifts a giant nose for himself and takes a sniff. Of course, Jake starts bragging to Finn about how awesome and mathematical the quibble flowers smell, and Finn starts to feel left out. Why can't he smell anything? He's fought ogres and giant ogres and ogre giants, and this is the dumbest roadblock ever. Even though he doesn't really understand why he cares so much, he's determined to find a solution. And that's when the giant steps back in, offering the tale of the Helmet of Thoragon, a magical headpiece that allows the wearer to smell the quibble flowers with a regular-sized nose. An image of a giant nose piece appears in the sky, and the giant tells them that this is what it looks like, in his mind. The boys are dead set on heading to the Temple of Thoragon to find the helmet, but there's one problem. The temple is a 10-day journey away, and the quibbles only bloom for 24 hours. There's no way that they'll make it in time. But then Finn notices that when the giant points to the city, he can totally reach it with his giant arm. So when the giant points at the temple again, he and Jake hop on his finger and start their adventure. This idea was actually executed in a later episode called 5 More Short Graybles, where Marceline hitches a ride to Wizard Bill's music shop to snag a shredding guitar on Rock Giant's pointer finger. Jake and Finn enter a long hallway at the temple, and are greeted by a weird half-man, half-bird thing waiting for them at the end of it. The bird guy is Thoragon, and man does he underestimate our dudes. He tries to trick Jake and Finn into thinking that there aren't any booby traps in his hallway, but our heroes see right through that bull and start ninja backflipping closer to the helmet. Thoragon thinks he almost gets them by pulling a lever that unlocks a trap door above a giant pit of bloodthirsters, a half-zombie, half-vampire, half-werewolf kind of thing. But Finn and Jake are too fast, and they catch themselves just in time. As a reward for making it through his hallway of doom, Thoragon tells Finn and Jake that they can have the helmet if they solve his riddle. Jake's like, hold on, you can't have booby traps and a riddle, but Thoragon insists that you can have both and starts riddling. His brain teaser goes, "What takes the wind from my sails but also blows the lion's tail?" And Finn and Jake spend forever trying to guess the answer. Finally, Jake gives up guessing, falls to the ground, and lets loose a fart. Finn realizes that's the answer to Thoragon's riddle, but when he guesses correctly, Thoragon breaks down and admits that he doesn't have the helmet anymore. He explains to Finn and Jake that a young adventurer came to take the helmet a few days prior, and that he's been going through the motions of guarding the temple because he doesn't want to disappoint his long lineage of Thoragons. He tries to kill Finn and Jake for discovering his secret, but as usual, they find a way to wiggle out of it and set off to find the adventurer. Once again, Jake tells Finn that it's really not a big deal if he doesn't smell a quibble, but Finn is determined. They ride the giant's finger back over to the address Thoragon gives them and are surprised to find a simple cabin with a big-headed baby living inside. Covering the walls are thousands and thousands of bookshelves filled with leather-bound books. The baby explains that he didn't even want the helmet. He just really loves riddles and has been on a worldwide trip to collect them all and fill his library. He agrees to give the helmet to Jake and Finn, but only if they help him find the last riddle he needs to complete his leather-bound book of brain teasers, so our dudes ride that giant finger one last time. They beat up the clock bear, which is basically just a bear with a clock inside, and take the riddle back to the baby. Jake tells the baby that the riddle goes, "What time is it when a creature walks on his tail in the morning, walks on his eyeballs in the afternoon, but walks on his 2 front teeth at night?" I have no idea what the answer to that riddle is, but the baby does, and he writes it down on the very last line of his leather notebook. Just then, the house starts shaking, and the baby starts morphing into a creepy, grotesque little boy, then a teenager, then a man. "Finally, the curse is broken!" the baby cries, and Finn and Jake are all, what? And the baby proceeds to tell them that he was cursed long ago to crawl the earth until he had collected every single riddle, and that his eternal reward would be to finally die when the riddle book was complete. "And you can die with me!" he screams, but Finn and Jake are like, "No way, dude, we don't want to die." And the baby's like, oh, sorry. I've been looking forward to dying for so long, I forget that other people aren't into it. He instructs them to grab the helmet from his treasure room before the house explodes, and goes back to rapidly aging like the Nazi at the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Finn and Jake run to the treasure room to snag the helmet, but at the last second, Finn decides to grab a dope-ass sword instead. After they escape the collapsing cabin, Finn tells Jake that it was never about smelling the quibble flowers. It was about doing something with his best bud, Jake. The two of them hop back on the giant finger and wield the sword all the way back to their next adventure, shooting fireballs and exploding mountains and stuff. That would have been such a killer episode! Although, I think it's pretty safe to say that watching a baby kill itself with rapid aging might have been a little too dark for Cartoon Network. But it's cool that they kept the traveling by giant finger gag for another episode. Marceline looks so cool riding that thing. Number 2, Diamond Jim. Not too much is known about the lost episode of Diamond Jim, so let's try to fill in the blanks with the storyboard stills we have. Okay, so here we have BMO being her sweet, cute little self. Look at her all cute and square and perfect. Okay, and now we get a lot of detail. So it looks like the general gist of this episode is that Jake, Finn, and Lady Rainicorn are all playing with BMO, when suddenly Lady Rainicorn starts acting weird and decides to leave. Detective Finn puts himself on the case because he hates seeing Jake so bent out of shape about his lady, and finds out that Lady Rainicorn has been hanging out with a guy named Diamond Jim. Jake catches Lady in a white lie and decides to confront Diamond Jim. One storyline has Jim getting super offended and challenging Jake to a duel, but another says that Jim is like the nicest guy in the world and just won't tell Finn and Jake about his visits with Lady. Personally, I like both of them, so let's just say that he fights him, wins, and Jim still won't tell him what's up. Next, it looks like Finn and BMO come up with a game to help fix their friend's relationship. Love Games ends up fixing Jake and Lady Rainicorn somehow, and they all live happily ever after until their next adventure. I love Jake and Lady Rainicorn episodes, but let's be honest, I really want to see Diamond Jim encase Finn in that cool diamond armor. What's the girl gotta do to get these episodes produced? Number 1, hands. As Finn and Jake weave their way through Ooze Bazaar, they search for the Button Man, who has a rare button they ordered for pickup. They spot Button Man and, to their horror, slowly realize that he's being carried away by a mysterious cloaked figure. They chase after him, hoping to free their imprisoned friend, and the cloaked figure leads them to his cloth-covered hillside shack. When they get inside, Jake tries to shake Button Man out of it, but he's stiff as a board. Finn lights a lantern, and the two of them realize that the entire room is lined with frozen stiff people, just like Button Man. When they hear the cloaked figure heading their way, Jake and Finn try to camouflage themselves by pretending to be frozen against the wall. This little tidbit made it into the episode ignition point, when Finn and Jake are hiding out in Flame Princess's castle. As they hide amongst the human decorations, the cloaked figure puts on a tragic puppet show for Button Man, detailing his lonely life growing up as a child with no one to play patty cake with. Finn and Jake actually start to feel sorry for him, and Jake accidentally asks out loud why no one would play with him. The cloaked figure spins around to reveal that he has gigantic cursed hands that freeze whoever he plays with, ensuring that his victims will play with him forever and ever and ever. He chases Finn and Jake out of the house, and our heroes realize that no one in town will be safe until they make a wish to reverse the curse. But where are they gonna find a wish this time of day? Falling stars are completely unpredictable. There's always a super long line at the wishing well, wish-granting hobgoblin toes are out of season, and Jake, who celebrates his birthday 7 times a year because of the whole dog year thing, isn't due for a birthday wish for at least a few weeks. After enduring a very awkward dinner with a strange family, Finn and Jake get what they're after, a wishbone from a mutant turkey thing. They rush the wishbone back to old Big Hand's people shack and wish for their hands to unfreeze people. The only problem? The entire house is made of humans, so they have to carefully figure out which people to unfreeze and when so that the structure won't collapse. It's basically human Jenga! Unfortunately, Big Hands Man comes home early and a fight breaks out with Finn and Jake trying to re-unfreeze everyone as fast as Big Hands can refreeze them. But his hands are no match for Finn and Jake's ninja skills, so Big Hands finally screws up and freezes himself. Finn and Jake go back to deconstructing the house and save the day. Finn decides to give Big Hands another chance, so he unfreezes him. Jake suggests that Big Hands just wish for smaller hands to play patty cake with, and our heroes are off to fetch him another wishbone. These are my favorite unmade Adventure Time episodes, but I want to know if you've heard about other ones in the comments section. Like and subscribe to NerdWire, be sure to check us out on Roku, and if you're missing your friends Jake and Finn, just click the left of my face for more Adventure Time videos.